Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We're bringing back on the show Theron Whitney, who's co-founder and vice president over at Xibeo. And let me tell you, we are celebrating the 25-year anniversary of Xibeo. And Theron's been a supporter of the show for a long time. He's been on the show multiple times, and I'm just so happy and so proud to be part of this moment. Theron, welcome back on the show, and congrats on the big 2-5.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Oh man, so we've had many discussions about this and other things, but I was just thinking about it in our warm up. I'm like 25 years. I want to get into what that's like. I will also, of course, for the newer listeners, we'll get into what you're up to at Xibeo and ultimately what's going on. You're my inside guy. What's going on in trade shows? What's going on in trade show marketing? So definitely want some tips and insights from you there. But we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Theron, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, for executives, for experts. That's what we do. Theron, what mission matters to you?
Customer service. We'll talk about that during this conversation, but that's the key to our success. So customer service is absolutely the mission that matters the most in business, as far as I'm concerned.
Amazing. Making those customers happy so they come back and buy some more. I'm in, and I want to learn how to do that too, because I want people coming back to us as well. But before we get into Xibeo, for the newer listeners again, how'd you get into this business? Like, where did this start for you?
Just a fluke, really. I was in retail sales back when I was 25, and I wanted to get out. I'd been a little burned out. I actually started in sales when I was 19, and that was for electronics store, Circuit City. And so I kind of worked my way through the store, got tired, burned out of retail. And then a friend of mine said, hey, there's this company in Ventura that's selling trade show exhibits. And I'd never heard of that. And so I went and interviewed, and it was an outside sales job, which I'd never tried before. And I thought, okay, well, let's try. Let's see what happens. So I was 25 at the time and got started learning about trade show exhibits, and found it was really something I enjoyed. It had a lot of creativity in it. It had working with other businesses, gave me a lot of insight into how other businesses operate. And I was dealing with every industry out there. So it was a lot of fun. A little scary in the first couple of years, but as I got used to it, I just kind of, the saying, duck, took to it like a duck to water. It was the same thing for me. It was just like, oh, this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah. How did you, as you were kind of going up the ranks in that business and learning, of course, like what do you think like led to some of your success to then coming to start your own company? Like, what were some of those moments? Because a lot of people may, initially, especially at that age, right? They get comfortable or they really take to something, but they don't necessarily go out, take those other steps, start a business around it, stay in the same industry, build the skill set. Like, I kind of want to stay in the beginning for a moment longer. Like, what do you think led to that?
Well,
I know that's a big one.
All honesty, I wanted to make a lot of money. So that was the first one. And being in sales, you can make as much as you put the effort into. So that was one of the first things I learned. But also it was problem solving. With trade shows and trade show marketing, there's a lot of problem solving that has to be done, whether it's physical, whether it's graphically, or architecturally. So that was another feature about this particular industry that I really enjoyed.
So I see the obviously the title co-founder. What led to founding Xibeo? Like, to give us the backstory on that one, because you're celebrating 25 years. Where'd that piece of the story begin?
So my partner and I were working for another exhibit house, and we were helping them. We had left a previous company, jumped over and worked with a new company. We're helping him to get established and started. And then 9/11 happened, 2001, and he told us, well, I can't pay you guys, but will you stay on? And we said, if we're not going to get paid, we might as well work for ourselves. And
Mm.
uh, so we don't, we
That's
don't.
gutsy. That's still gutsy, though. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we knew going in, both of us had been in the industry a while, and we knew what we were doing. We knew vendors, we knew the industry. So we just figured, if we stay local, because we were commuting about an hour away. So if we stay local to our homes in Ventura, then we're close to our kids. We both had young kids at the time, and we can figure this out. And we have clients that'll follow us. And sure enough, they did follow us. And shortly 2002, when things started to get back to normal in travel and shows, we got a place. I took a loan out of my house, and my partner had a couple big sales that she had just closed, and we just kind of combined our funds and just started up like we had no fear. And
Wow.
and it just kind of took from there. And then about 3 months after we took over this one space, we took space next door to us because we were already expanding. And then we just slowly, eventually took over each suite next to each other. And we had us at the very end, before we moved to our current location, we had about 4 different suites side by side that we had to expand into.
That's amazing. And on that, when you signed that first deal for that, or that first lease, I should say, to get that first space, what was that like? Was that like what was that moment? Like, you're no longer working from home or, on the phone, whatever, however you were, doing it. Like, now you got a physical location. What was that like?
Well, I can tell you, we still have this issue. It's a imposter syndrome. We were looking at each other like, how are we doing this? Are we really doing this? That sort of thing. And that was roughly 18,000 square feet when we moved. We're now in a facility that's about 30,000 square feet. It's our own building. We've got a huge back lot. And we still walk in sometimes when things are quiet and look around and go, how are we doing this? Whose place is this? Who's running this place? So, we don't really have a lot of ego in the business. It's always been about taking care of our customers, finding solutions for our customers, partnering with our customers.
What do you feel are some of the key things that helped you in terms of longevity in this space? Because there's been lots of ups and downs. You talked about like the early ones, and 9/11 happening, 2002 we had the tech wreck. Shortly after that, or in that same time period, I mean, we've been through COVID, we've been through how many things, and you're still standing. Like, what do you think some of this longevity is attributed to?
Well, definitely the customer service, as I mentioned earlier. If it weren't for taking care of our clients, having long-term relationships with our clients, I don't think we would have lasted. If we treated each sale as just a sale, I don't think we would have lasted as long. When we meet with clients for the first time, or we meet with a customer for the first time, we get to know them. We get to know what their needs are, what their personality is. So we know what they need, how they need, maybe they need their hand held because they just don't have the patience to work with the show management or the paperwork, or maybe they're really detail oriented. So we need to make sure that we step up and give them all the details that they need so they can feel comfortable with whatever it is that they need information on. So it's a lot of relationship building that we do. And then, like I said, problem solving. So if a client has this need for a booth, or they just don't know how to present themselves, we come back now. Personally, I've been doing this 33 years. So I'll come to a client with that background, 3 decades of experience, and I'll say, well, this is the best way to do it based on what I've experienced. And most of the time, they will follow my direction, and things go successfully at the show. We also tell them what things to look out for, how to save money. That was the one thing that we started in the very beginning, was finding solutions to cut costs, shipping costs, labor costs. We were one of the first companies to create custom exhibit rentals, where we would design a trade show booth to fit the client's brand rather than just give them a kit A, B, or C. And now that's becoming more normal in our industry. There's a lot of companies now that do what we did back 25 years ago.
Hmm. What are some of the, and obviously this is the good part of what it's taken to do what you do. I'm curious about some of the challenges, like some of the challenges along the way. Like what challenges have you had to overcome to, to make it to this 25?
Well, this will probably answer a little bit more of your previous question. A lot of the challenges have been outside influences like COVID, like you mentioned, like the recession. Those are probably our biggest challenges. And dealing with those, we tend to wear many hats, my partner and I. So if there's something going on that has to be managed, we typically know how to do that ourselves, whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's running the shop, project management. We both have worked in a shop before, so we know how to fabricate booths. We know how they should be made. And also subbing out some of the work, having a supply chain of vendors that are local to us that can do things that we don't want to have the expense of managing. So just trying to keep our company lean and mean, and that way we're ready for anything that happens, and being able to pivot when we get hit with those unforeseen instances like the recession or like with COVID. I mean, when COVID happened, our industry was shut down for 16 months.
Yeah, like it was shut down. I'm curious, how do you survive that?
PPP loans really helped. But that didn't cover everything. So we had to be creative. I rented out some space to a small cabinet shop so that he could, do some work for stores. And then my son and I went for about a month and a half up and down the West Coast, refurbishing Verizon wireless stores that we had gotten through another vendor they hired us on. And then I started doing video marketing for our clients. So we turned our showroom into a studio, and we used the trade show booths as backdrops so they could do and because they couldn't go to trade shows either.
Of course, yeah.
We turned our space into a studio so they could do a virtual trade show, so to speak. But it was all marketing done on YouTube, and we created an event. Some were training videos that we did, but this other one for a client was a full-on marketing experience that you had to log in on a certain day at a certain time, and that was very successful for them.
I love it. Not that you had to go through that, but it just shows the creativity. And I asked you that question because there's other business owners right now, and there's always something. When I think about business, at least I haven't been doing this as long as you have, but I mean, like in general, there's always something. There's going to be a war. There's going to be something. Obviously, COVID was huge. There's going to be a recession. There's going to be something that causes an entrepreneur to AI. I mean, some people, the creativity of an entrepreneur and thinking about like not only how to survive, but how to thrive and how to make things better. Like that's the goal.
Yep.
Let's get into Theron. Let's get into present day. I want to know, you're my inside guy when it comes to what's going on in trade shows and otherwise. First, we've had this conversation before, but I want to start with just this concept of how trade show marketing is kind of like the canary in the coal mine. Can you explain that? And because I think that's important to where we stand right now to maybe set the foundation of this part of the conversation. Like what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So, marketing dollars in companies are typically the first thing to really get pulled back on when companies are fearful about what their future is, because it's very discretionary. They don't have to go to trade shows, but it's best to go to trade shows in order to market yourself, because you can get a lot more clients, or you can hit a lot more customers that way all at one time. So when we start to see the marketing dollars start to shrink, people either cutting back on the trade show booth size, or they are telling me they're cutting back on the staff that they're sending, or they just don't have the dollars to invest in a larger booth rental. Maybe they're scaling down to a smaller one, or maybe their big trade show booth that they normally use, they can't use because it's so expensive to ship and set up, that they need to just rent something smaller so they can make a presence at the show, and still hit those clients, but do it on a smaller space. So when I start to see more of that, that's usually the red lights, the red flag waving in the wind, telling me that there's something going on, especially when I see it across multiple industries. Like if it's just one industry, like during the tech bust, we saw the tech companies pulling back, but everybody else wasn't. So we knew that there was an issue with the tech companies starting to not want to go do shows as much. During the recession, we saw that going straight across every industry. So every industry was backing out as early as 2007, 2008, and then 2009 is when everything bottomed out. But we were seeing it a couple years prior to 2009, when people were starting to cut back and be more hesitant about going to shows.
That's interesting. So there's got to be some as a leading indicator overall on what's going on. So what are you seeing right now? Like what's the market like right now? And for context for everybody, just so you know, especially if you're listening to this recording and not the live version, we are streaming this live on March 17th, 2026. All right, I just wanted to timestamp that for us, Theron. So what are you seeing right now?
Well, let's jump back a year or so just to give us some context. So
please.
Pundits were saying in, I think, 2024, 2025, they kept warning about a recession coming, but we were actually seeing more spending in marketing. We were seeing more attendance at trade shows. We were getting a lot of clients that were expanding booths. They were changing their branding, marketing message. So we were seeing a lot of positive changes, and the end result for those last 2 years is there really wasn't a recession. Economy was doing fine. Now it's kind of a big question mark, because the trade show industry's meeting that they do just about a month or so ago was kind of rosy about the future of trade shows. But now with gas prices being up, one of the leading factors to people cutting their costs would be the shipping. So trucking companies, charging more, especially for companies, say on the East Coast that are coming to the West Coast for shows, they might be hit pretty hard if they've got a large trade show exhibit. So we have people who are being very cautious about their budgets, but they're not like canceling their trade shows. They're definitely being more cost conscious. So I can't really say that there's something on the horizon that's really negative, but there's definitely people who are taking note and being more cautious on their trade show investments.
Let's go into like day of trade show. So let's just say in general, because you've been doing this so long. I'm curious on what's working. Like those that are watching this right now that maybe they've been attending trade shows or as sponsors, exhibitors, all the above, and if they're not already using you, then they don't get to talk to your experienced team necessarily. What's working right now? Like what are the trends that you see like that are working in person at these shows?
Backlit displays, backlit graphics. That's kind of the newest thing, is that light boxes, portable light boxes, used to be a little challenging to build and assemble, but there's several manufacturers now that have come out that have made it more easy to put together. And a backlit graphic is probably 5 to 10 times better than a non-backlit graphic, because it draws people's attention. It catches your eye. On the larger booths, I'm seeing people use more of the LED tiles. Those are video screens that you can build in blocks, like 19.5-inch square screens, so you can make it any size you want. I'm seeing a lot more of those, and I'm seeing a lot more of lighting accents. These would be like strips of panels that are lit, so that when you walk by a booth, you see this kind of accent edge that's backlit. So it's all about motion and light, which draws people's eyes.
Yeah. When talk about your process a little bit, like, and because I know you go, when you've designed how many, and actually, I want you to talk about your process. But if you had to guess, how many booths would you say or setups would you say you've designed over your time? I know that's an unfair question, but
Yeah,
I got to,
really.
man. You're 25 years in. That's like asking a lot of different things. But I want people to know how experienced you are.
Wow. Well, I'd say from the very beginning,
Yeah.
oh, it's you got me stumped. I would say on the average, I'm probably doing uh, at least 100 different customers a year.
Yeah.
But then I also do a lot of repeat clients, and that's again that speaks
Yeah.
to the success of our business. Is we have a lot of
Mhm.
repeat clients who've been with us for
So we're
15 or 20
talking
years.
2 to 3,000 maybe setups or something like that. Am I
Could
off?
be, yeah, yeah. That could be why I'm so exhausted. So
So, and I put you on the spot on that one intentionally, because when I asked the question of like what's working or other things, and I do want you to talk about your process next, but
yeah,
I mean, nothing against anybody else, but there's a difference between somebody that's, you know what I mean, like they design a couple hundred or a couple thousand in their career.
yeah.
So talk a little bit about your process there, and not to put you on the spot.
Well, a lot of it is just either customers coming to us, found us
Mhm.
on the internet or referrals, or they were working with us at one company and they've left that company and they're now working
Mm.
at a different company. Um, I always like to start with whatever the problem is that they're having. It's either they need a new booth design, or
Mhm.
they've got a space that's maybe really bizarre at a trade show. We just had one recently where the client's booth had a column in the middle of it. So
Mm.
we had to design around that and still make it functional and make it modular enough so they could use it at a different show. Uh,
Mm.
or this another recent one was we had a helicopter in a booth. So I had to
Whoa.
take an existing booth display design that I had done that was never intended to have a helicopter in it, and then figure out how to change that design in order to make it work for holding the helicopter in the middle of the space.
Yeah.
So those kind of things I think are where I start my process, is the
Mm.
problem solving. And then once I do that, figuring out, okay, well, how do we
Mhm.
solve that problem? Then it's about visualizing whatever that design solution would look like. So because
Mm.
the trade show world is very visual, I tend to think if somebody gives me a concept and they say, well, imagine it's this, this, and this, and it looks
Mm.
like this, I can do that very easily. So I typically do all of our company's designs, because I can take the information that a client gives me and
Mm.
start sketching it out or start designing it on the spot.
Yeah.
Or I have a vast library of past booths. I can go through it, show them a picture, show them a rendering of a past booth that sounds
Yeah.
like it would work for them, and say, is this what you're thinking? And then from there they'll say, yeah, but can you tweak this or can you adjust that? And then with my
Mm.
CAD designer, we'll change things, we'll draw it up, and show them the basic concept, and then do a color rendering that shows the final booth, how it would look.
Yeah. First off, amazing. But I'm curious on the personal side. After 25 years in the business, what keeps you motivated?
Um, you know, I've I've had a lot of thoughts about that recently.
Mm.
Always thinking about, well, what's the next step, and
Mhm.
where are we going from here? And I still run into situations that I've never run into before. So in 30 some years of being on the trade show floor, there's been instances where I've come across where I'm like, I've never had to experience that before. How are we going to solve that? So, every day is different. And I think,
Mm.
getting up in the morning, coming to work, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to experience now? What's
Mm.
the universe going to throw at us now? And, it's always something new. So, I'm always having fun here trying to solve those challenges that get thrown at us.
Yeah, like a helicopter. By the way, Theron, we're gonna have a helicopter on this one, okay? So
Yeah,
design around that, okay?
exactly. Yeah.
You're like, all right, I'm up for the challenge. I love it. Oh man, well it's been great having you back on the show. If so, I gotta ask. We're again going into Q2 March, and we're recording this mid March. We'll blink and it'll be Q2. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for Xibeo?
Right now we're getting ready to celebrate our 25th anniversary this summer.
Yes.
So we're still working on our showroom. We've been so busy that I only have like a quarter of it built out. So we've got to get that finished so we can be ready for our semi-grand opening, where
Mm.
we're going to have a lot of our vendors and our past clients over the many years, invite them to come to the new facility and
Mm.
just kind of celebrate with us, have a big party.
Ah, what an amazing feat. If people are listening and watching this, and if they want to follow up, they want to learn more, and they want to connect, how do they reach out to your team?
Well, you first go to Xibeo.com, so www.xibeo.com, and you can kind of see a selection of everything that we do, from trade
Yeah.
show booths to events to just retail fixtures. I mean, anything that's marketing structurally, we certainly do that.
Cool.
They can also, give us a call if they have a need, 805-604-4409.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the website though would be the best bet, because then they can really see what we do and how we do it. And there's lots of examples of all of our past exhibits that we've done.
Wonderful. And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put the link in the show notes. So you can just click on it and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Daily, each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Theron, so much fun having you back on. And Mission Matters and myself, we're just so ecstatic to be part of the Big 2-5. Congrats again, and here's to many more years of success.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.